only mode.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Phil Bonomo. I'm Director of TRP North America. Real happy to have you here on the webinar this afternoon. Just before we start, I just want to make sure that everyone is well and truly connected. If anyone has any issues with connecting or hearing me, please feel free to type a message down in the chat column, and we'll definitely address that. But we're just going to go ahead and get moving, and looking forward to sharing with you some ideas and some opportunities with you. So this this January is probably like every other January you have spent in the fitness industry, planning in November and December for the big push in the months of January, February, March, and certainly the Black Friday of the fitness industry is the month of January. As January goes, so goes the health club business. What I'd like to concentrate on today, however, is when you get a new member, when you sign on those new folks that are interested in making that New Year's resolution, how do we properly onboard them? How do we properly integrate them into the fabric of our clubs and help them make those New Year's resolutions last, not just for a few weeks or a few months, but really for the rest of their lives. Before I start into the body of the presentation, I do want to give you a little bit overview of who we are and where our perspective comes from. The Retention People are the only firm in the global fitness industry to focus exclusively on member loyalty and retention. So health club members are our focus. Keeping them as your members longer and keeping them loyal longer is our focus. So we do quite a bit of research in the industry. We develop software around that research, and we do what I feel is best-in-class training and coaching around the whole member loyalty and retention experience. Our business model is pretty unique in that there is no other company in the fitness industry that can provide the type of industry insight that we can. We currently manage about 15 million member records. So these are active member records of our clients around the world, representing about 1,000 sites. And so we're able to track trends within those member records, anonymously of course, and we use that as insight to fuel our research and to actually fuel our product development. We're currently also doing a North American member loyalty study, generating 100 to 150,000 health club members to respond to this study around measuring the overall loyalty of the health club member market, utilizing the very popular Net Promoter Score. And we've recently launched a very interesting study called TRP 10,000, where we have actually over 10,000 now members in the UK subscribed, and we're going to be following their trends, habits, retention terms, their loyalty, etc. over time. It's kind of, if you're familiar with the very famous Framingham Heart Study, we're going to be doing something very similar to that around member loyalty with 10,000 members in the UK, and we look to take that to the United States next year. So we use our industry insight to develop our software, to develop our training, and to really fuel our consultancy. And then we use feedback and learning from the field, our live data feeds, obviously best practices of our customers, and we use that to basically close the loop on our business model. So let's start by really focusing on why so many new members come into your facilities in the months of January and perhaps in February as well. And that is that they feel compelled January every year to make that resolution. And that's a good thing, because people really do want to change. They really do want to improve, and they see that turning of the page on January 1. Sophie, is that you?
Yeah, we can't see your screen, Phil.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sophie, could you do me a favor? It seems to me that that you are, oh, here we go. I'm going to just make myself the presenter here. I apologize, folks. And now I'm going to show my screen.
Okay, we got it.
I'm assuming everyone can see it now?
Should be okay now.
All good? All right, thanks. Sorry about that. So I was just reviewing who we are, what we do, our business model. So we haven't covered a lot of meat yet. And what I wanted to do is get right into this whole New Year's resolution thing. And when you opened your doors on January 2nd, did this young lady walk through your doors? I think not. If in fact that young lady did, you would probably have not a problem retaining her as a loyal health club member. Rather, I think what we see is very often this kind of person here, someone who truly needs to make a commitment to getting back in shape. So they say, I'm going to join your club, but I haven't worked out in years. And I've made this resolution. I think it's time for me to start. I'm not necessarily committed to it. I may not stick around, and you may not have any impact, but I'll try it. But you're going to have a heck of a job to get me to stay. So this kind of a consumer is the consumer that's walking through our doors, not only throughout the year, but most likely during the first quarter. So how do we take this person and transform them into an active fitness consumer, someone who stays a member in your facility for a long, long time? Or in fact, how do we close that back door? How do we keep the member that comes in the front door from going out the back door? So today, here's what I'd like to focus on. I really want to focus on prioritizing member retention. I've been in the industry now for about 27 years, and certainly and appropriately, this industry has been driven by the sales paradigm, and that's okay. But what's most important is that we see some balance in that sales paradigm to being one that is a sales and retention paradigm. And I would throw a third term in there, which is called loyalty. So a loyal member, at least in our research, is one who stays longer. So really focusing on retention and loyalty as equally as sales is very important. Additionally, we want to gain commitment, especially during that first 8 to 12 week period. When a member is joining your facility, that first 8 to 12 weeks is probably the most critical period in their member journey. And that's really going to be, in most cases, the make or break as to whether or not that person will adopt a fit and healthy lifestyle that also incorporates your health club. I truly believe in spoon feeding a new member. I think it's very often that we can presume that a member understands what the health and fitness environment is about, that a member understands what it is to exercise, and the fact of the matter is that many of the folks, and certainly I'm sure you recognize it when someone comes in and they're essentially awestruck at the equipment and all the bells and whistles that are available to them today. We truly need to spoon feed. We can't over care for a new member. We also want to effectively communicate with new members, and we want to communicate with staff as well. If staff are dialed in, are really focused, laser focused on embracing and inviting and really encouraging new members to stay, then the new member gets a sense of an environment, of a culture that they're going to feel a part of. And then additionally, like anything, we need to take fitness one day at a time. It's a very, very critical thing for people to realize that it does take time. It's a day in and day out proposition. It's a several times a week proposition in order to see the effect that you want from your health and fitness program. And so we need to really make sure that members understand, look, it's a journey. It's not simply just a one-time experience. So it's one day at a time. So first I'd like to ask you, and think very strongly about this, how much do you really prioritize retention in your facility? We've become very good at selling. We have initiation fees, we have monthly dues, we have non-dues revenue, we have things that we can sell, and we've learned how to sell very well. We have sales presentations that we practice, we have tours that we practice, we have closing techniques that we practice. So we're very, very good at selling someone on health and fitness. And bravo to that. What do we do, though, when it comes to keeping members in our facilities? What do we do when it comes to adding months to a member's life and experience in our club? How well do we do in keeping our old customers? So ask yourself, how much do you really prioritize retention? And here are some points that I'd like you to really think about in terms of really integrating retention into your club culture. It's really not that difficult if you spend some time thinking about it and then acting upon it. Do you include it in every meeting agenda? Do you know what your retention goal is on a month-to-month basis? Very often we post our sales goals in the office. We see how well we're doing against those sales goals. I would love for you to think about, is there a way for me to identify my retention goal? And then how do I really make sure that my staff understands that that's a very big priority? Do I include that in every meeting? Do we discuss new members? Are new members people, or are they just a new member number? Do we share a picture of new members in staff meetings? Do we share a story, maybe something that a new member told you during a sales presentation? It's very important, I think, for us to really become connected with our members, to have some sense of continuity with them. And when you can pick them out of a crowd, when you kind of know a little bit of what they've been through to get there and what they're trying to do while they're in your facility, that allows you to really have a bond with those members. So discuss those new members. Do you operationalize retention on par with sales? What do you do every day in your operation to make sure that retention is maximized? And it may start with simply a smile at the front desk and really making a concerted effort to have your staff know the names of those people that regularly come into your facility so they can greet them by name and make them feel like they're right at home. Do we compel all departments, from the front desk to the fitness staff to group fitness to the executive staff, even to the maintenance staff, do we compel all departments to deliver a great member experience? And do we hold them accountable when they don't? I highly recommend that you meet weekly with your key staff to support retention efforts no matter what. This can be certainly integrated into a sales meeting, but I think sales and retention, having that balance, is absolutely critical. And make sure that staff understands that they're really being measured not only by their sales performance but also by their efforts to retain members. Do we ensure that department heads can schedule time to coach their teams, particularly on retention? Does the group exercise staff get together? Does the fitness staff get together? Does the sales staff get together to really coach their team and integrate that whole concept of retention into their day in and day out experiences? And does keeping members drive your decision as much as selling new members? And I believe it should. I'd like to show you a quote from this fellow here. This is a fellow named Frederick Reichelt, and he's actually someone that we respect and actually love at TRP. He's a fellow that really has been a pioneer in tracking customer loyalty across really all industries, and we're working with him on a great effort to track member loyalty within the fitness industry. But Fred Reichelt, in one of his books called The Loyalty Effect, said this: Retention is not simply one more operating statistic. It is a central gauge that integrates all dimensions of a business and measures how well that firm is creating value for its customers. It is the single indicator for measuring sustainable growth. Now notice he didn't say sales. Notice he didn't say profit. Notice he didn't say turnover. Notice he didn't say adding new sites. He said that retention is the operating statistic. And I would suggest to you that if we focus only on retaining our members, building a culture that retains those members that we bring in through our excellent sales efforts, that we will grow and we will grow sustainably. And then everything else really falls into place. If you're retaining members, sales go up. If you're retaining members, profits can increase. If you're retaining members, you're putting less stress on your marketing budget. If you're retaining members, you're really putting less stress on the sales staff to try to make that monthly number. That doesn't mean that that monthly number doesn't exist, but it's less stressful. So really focusing on retention as the central gauge that allows you to measure how well you're creating value for your members. Let's grow by retaining. We do a lot of research around the whole concept of visit frequency and how visit frequency impacts health club member retention. And here's a simple little graph that identifies some of the findings that we made within a recent research study around visit frequency and how it impacts that retention. So if your screen can discern these colors, we've got a blue line here, and we've got a red line here. And when I look at a graph like this, I always cut that graph right down the middle, beneath and above each of these lines. And I see the line below each line being a line that represents money, represents dollars, represents real revenue for your facility. And that line above each of these lines represents opportunity. So let's look at this graph of members who are visiting less than twice per week. And by the way, we at TRP have discovered that really universally that 2 times per week visit frequency really is the threshold. That's the make or break. Certainly we want members to attend more frequently, 3, 4, 5 times a week. But in this case here, 2 visits per week really see as the threshold. When a member exceeds twice per week, or at least meets that, we see that their proportion of members that retain their membership goes up dramatically. If you look at this, let's bisect this graph for a second. At 7 months, we've lost 50% of our members that have been visiting less than twice a week. That's a pretty scary statistic. So if we don't get those members onboarded and visiting as frequently as we possibly can, and at least meeting that 2 visit per week threshold, 50% of them could clearly be gone after 7 months. But the good news is, when a member visits 2 times or more per week, we're seeing them staying an average of at least 14 months and beyond. Now what does that mean in real dollars? Well, if you're a $40 per month club, just think about adding 7 months on average per membership. That's about $280 per member. So do the math. Put in your monthly dues. Multiply that out by 7 months. And that's the difference between getting your members on average to visit at least twice per week versus less than twice per week. It's pretty compelling, and it's pretty simple to do. The important thing is gaining commitment and not contempt. The new member comes into our facilities with a level of fear and trepidation, partly because they really don't know what they're getting themselves in for. But they've walked into your doors. They've walked up to your front desk. They know that there's something there for them. And we don't want them to be contemptible about it. We want them to be committed to it. It's kind of like when you go into a car dealership. even though you may be committed to buying a car, there's always that sense of fear and trepidation when you walk across the threshold. We want to be able to turn that into commitment. And here's how I suggest that we do it. We've got new members that have jitters. You know, they're nervous because they're really not sure what kind of an experience to expect in the facility. Our industry has not done a great job in presenting itself as a sales-friendly industry. So people are afraid to get the pitch. How do we keep them from feeling jittery when they walk into our facilities? One big and critical piece that I think we really need to focus on too is, when do we sell personal training? Many clubs will sell personal training right at the point of sale. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that we need to really do our diligence around when is the best time to sell personal training. Because if I've committed to parting with a certain amount of money every month in an environment that I'm really not very familiar with, what is going to make me commit to an additional several $100s possibly in personal training? I don't necessarily know enough to know I need personal training. So think hard about when you offer personal training within your sales continuum. Track visits. Many of our member management systems now allow us to do this fairly easily, and I would very strongly suggest that you make sure that you're tracking those visits based on that threshold of 2 visits per week. Watch for those changes in visit frequency. Understand when certain members are moving from one commitment to a lesser commitment, moving from 3 to 4 visits per week to maybe 1 to 2 visits per week. That's when the alarm bells should go off, because that member is slowly drifting away. Very important to hold new members accountable for their program. And some of us, and I've noticed many of you on the call, I know what sorts of facilities you operate. And that member accountability is a very, very important part of the fabric of your business. And I think that's extremely critical for all of us to do. It's about holding members accountable, not necessarily goading them into fitness, but making them understand that really we can meet them halfway. And they need to really meet us on an equal level so that we can both work together to improve their health and well-being. So holding them accountable is not a bad thing, but we don't want them to feel guilty when their accountability slips. Very important balance there. We have to correct bad behaviors before they cause problems. Some of these bad behaviors may very well be misuse of equipment. It may be not using the proper amount of weights. It may be not using the proper form, etc. We have people that walk into facilities that feel like they know what they're doing, and they don't. How do we gently but convincingly and really with great strength correct those bad behaviors before they cause problems, before people hurt themselves? How do we compel all the departments to embrace the new member? And I mentioned that earlier, in that I think that weekly meeting that you have within your departments is an important component to making sure that new members are embraced when they come into the facility, especially this time of year when very often current members can hold these new members in contempt. They're crowding the facility, they're taking up parking spots, and they're going to be gone in a few months. How do we get our staff to really balance this by really saying to the new member, you're welcome here, we want you here, we want you to be part of our family. And then finally, and probably the least scientific thing at all, is to fall in love. You know, it's very, very important, I think, for members to fall in love not only with their fitness program, but with their fitness club. Love is a very everlasting concept, and if you can get your members to love their experience in your facility, and it's easier said than done, then you're going to have great success in retaining members for a long period of time. And one very interesting quote came to mind as I was thinking about this whole concept of falling in love. I know it's very ethereal, and you can hear music in the background while I say it, but I'm not referring to that movie Jerry Maguire. I'm actually referring to that movie Austin Powers, You Complete Me. I think there are really 4 key assets to an individual's completeness of life. And some may think it's 3, some may think it's 4, but I really do believe when it comes to completing a life, there are really 4 key components, and that's family, work, whatever faith you have, and then fitness. Because if you don't have fitness, and if you don't have your health, then family, work, and faith really are going to suffer greatly. So think about, how do we complete a member? How do we bring to them that fitness component that they may not currently have, that makes the rest of their life, that makes their family experience, their work experience, their faith experience complete? Now, some of you may be chuckling. I remember actually when this band came out back in the 70s, when we all had big hair and big aspirations. But I really do think too that it's critical that we keep new members focused on this term, don't stop believing. Don't stop believing that you can really improve your health and well-being. Don't stop believing that you can really get in shape, that you can lose that weight that you've been wanting to lose for a long period of time. Discouragement is our biggest enemy. And how do we turn that member from being discouraged to believing that they can actually do it? And here's a simple little acronym that I want to discuss with you. And this is the acronym MEMBER, member. And write this down. I think it's good and simple. It's a great lesson for your staff. And it really allows us all to be aligned on how is it that we can embrace and encourage our members, especially when they potentially could be discouraged about the results that they're getting and about their fitness experience overall. So managing expectations is absolutely critical. Now, this is something that many of our great operators have done very, very well. Looking at metrics that are not as intimidating as losing weight, looking at those small gains, those small victories, like being able to walk up 2 flights of stairs one day when they've only been able to accomplish 1 flight of stairs. Managing expectations, especially for the new member who wants it all and they want it all now, is very, very important. So the first M, manage expectations. Exercise self-efficacy. Make the member responsible for their own progress. And I think that's even important when you have members that invest in personal training or small group training, because there will be a day when they will stop using a personal trainer or stop attending a small group class. And what do we do when that happens? Well, do we let that member slip off, or do we really encourage that member, teach that member, and really tell that member that self-efficacy, being responsible for your own health and well-being, is absolutely critical. It's kind of like getting taught to ride a bike. And, so our parents are there holding the back of the bike, and we're pedaling. We'll pedal for a few, and then they let go, and whoops, we fall down. We get back up on the bike. We do it again, pedal for a few, fall down again. And then, lo and behold, the next time that our parent lets go of the bike, then something very miraculous happens, and that is that we can do it ourselves. So getting a member to dial in to an automatic commitment to health and fitness is very important. So the E, exercise self-efficacy. Second M is monitoring and feedback. We all want encouragement. We all want guidance. But we want it when we want it. And some of the best staff in health clubs that I have seen are the ones that can really read a member well, to understand that a member is having a certain issue or a certain struggle with a particular piece of equipment, or a member is perhaps not having as enjoyable a time in their workouts as they have been. Maybe they're getting stuck in a rut. Maybe your fitness staff sees that a particular member is doing the same thing day in and day out. They're not mixing it up. They're not creating variety for themselves. So monitoring members and giving them feedback and encouragement is extremely important to making sure that that member won't stop believing that they can do this thing called fitness. Really focusing and encouraging members to make behavioral choices that are positive and proper, because fitness doesn't begin and end with their visit to the health club. So it's behavioral choices like how much sleep that they get, what do they eat, how do they manage their lives, what sorts of vices are they dealing with. We really do need to be cognizant of the fact that while we do have an impact on their health and fitness, the rest of their lives do as well. So encouraging them to make behavioral choices that synergize with their health and fitness choice when they're in your facility is extremely important. So B is behavioral choices. Exercise intensity, very critical. It's easy to get in a rut. It's easy to set that treadmill to 3 miles per hour and have it stick there for workouts week in, week out, month in, month out. Really getting people to be willing to go to the edge, to push that exercise intensity up just a little bit, perhaps a little bit every week, to see that they can do it, to see that they can accomplish that is extremely important, because it's when we're ramping up that exercise intensity that we can bring ourselves to a new height, a new level of health and well-being. And when people begin to feel that they are really improving their lives through increasing this exercise intensity, that's a member that's going to stay and stay for a very, very long time. So that E is exercise intensity. Next is reinforcement. You know, we really want to reinforce good behavior. We really want members to feel like, you know what, I did it and I'm really proud of it. Think about the first time that you went into perhaps, let's say, a spin class and you actually lasted an hour, or the first time you were actually able to do the 12 reps on a particular strength piece of equipment. That sort of experience, that sort of accomplishment is very, very important to reinforce. Those of us who've been exercising our entire lives, there are things that we're seeing new members do that perhaps, you know, are things that we did years and years and years ago. The little gains, the small victories, but reinforcing those small victories and making sure that your staff is watching out for those small victories, and then really applauding them with members is absolutely critical. So the R is reinforcement. Let's talk a little bit about gaining commitment. So here's some things that are critical to gaining commitment from a member. Congratulate compliance. You know, when a member is complying with the health and fitness prescription that you provide them, congratulate them. Make sure they understand that we're watching, that we're keeping an eye out for them. And we're not doing it to simply find out when they fall. We want to do it so that we can congratulate them when they comply. If you set up an exercise program with them, and that exercise program requires a 3-visit per week commitment, when they come in 3 visits per week, congratulate them. They know you're watching, they know that someone cares, and they're going to comply even more. Staying on top of sliders is absolutely critical, and especially in the months of February and March when some of the new members begin to, I think, you know, the early glow of their new fitness program can become a little less exciting than it was in January. Staying on top of those sliders is absolutely critical. Get mind share, not pocket share. And this gets back to that whole idea of when do we sell personal training? When do we sell non-dues revenue-generating items like supplements, etc.? I think that it's absolutely critical, and having operated clubs as I have, I think it's critical to gain mind share first. So getting someone committed to the club is extremely important. And then you can begin to go for increasing share of pocket. So get mind share in those early months of a membership so that they become very attached, very committed, and that they fall in love with your club. And then the share of pocket is just going to come as a natural matter of course. New members must commit to success. I said this earlier. They've got to hold their end of the bargain up. We can't exercise for them. We all know that. And it's very, very important for members to know, look, we're here to meet you in the middle. And then, as I said, that minimum twice per week for the first 8 weeks, absolutely critical. Some of you may think 3 times per week, but certainly, depending upon what your threshold is, getting those new members to comply, at least for a minimum of twice per week, is absolutely critical. Let's think about effective communication. And these are a lot of the things that I believe are just very easy to do and easy to ensure effective communication. And the club that communicates is the club that retains. I truly believe it. And I can actually show you some data that reinforces that. But that whole communication, that feeling as being part of the family that exists in your facility is absolutely critical. The front desk sets the stage, and the front desk is often the area of a facility where you have the least prepared, the least trained individuals. So really focusing on that front desk, making sure that you have people there that have maturity, that people there that have engaging personalities and are really willing and able to communicate with a member. And knowing how to balance, too. Members are there to work out. They're not there necessarily to have long discussions. So communicate with them, but don't over-communicate. Many of us are now using digital communications to reach out to our members, to reach out to our prospects, to tell them about new programs and opportunities. We want to use it, but we don't want to abuse it. Also look at the potential of using text messaging, obviously permission-based. If you have an app in your club, push notifications are very, very cool too. But make sure that you also punctuate your communications about the new program, the new class, with what I call delightful communications. Imagine sending every member on their birthday a text message that says, your health club is thinking of you on this very, very special day. You can't say thank you enough. You know, thanking a member for keeping you in business, thanking a member for trusting you with their health and well-being, absolutely critical. Smile and dial. Anytime you have an issue with a member, our default these days tends to be an issue where we will send a member an email. I think an email is probably the most impersonal way that you can deal with an issue with a member. If a member has an issue and you've heard about it, if they put it in the suggestion box, you owe it to yourself to take a few minutes to smile and dial them up. You may just get their voicemail, but hearing your voice on the other end of the message and knowing that you care can go a long way with a member. So a lot of this stuff is really not science, it's really art. It's really about being effective communicators, being effective individuals, and really understanding how to integrate with those members that come into your facility. And then finally, MBWA, and many of you probably know this acronym, managed by walking around. You know, we need to, from time to time, separate ourselves from the spreadsheet. And we need to get out there, even if we're the general manager or the owner, we need to get out there on the floor, in the fitness room, take the group classes, walk through, monitor the locker rooms, really walk around, let your members see you, and see your members, and spend some time with them. It's amazing the things that you can learn when you manage by walking around. And this is a very cool quote that is attributed to Ken Blanchard, and many of you know of Ken Blanchard, a great motivational speaker and author. And in his book Gung Ho, he mentioned running a business on numbers is like playing basketball while watching the scoreboard instead of the ball. And that's a very, very true statement. So let's get out there and walk around and really integrate with our members on an ongoing basis. What I'd like to do is just talk about how is it that we can engage with our members every day and really make it an integral part of our management experience. And then additionally, how can we measure our engagement with our members so that we know what is successful and what can be improved. And that's one of the beauties of our customer experience management suite from the retention people. We call it Engage CEM. And it really allows us to automate the processes around engaging with our members every day. We've come up with a suite of products that allow us to accomplish really three main objectives. One is to help you improve that member experience. Secondly, to really promote customer loyalty, to grow a loyal customer base. And finally, to increase income by improving member retention and increasing referrals. Happy members refer friends, they refer family members, and they really are a great way to populate your club with happy and retained members. So the member experience, member loyalty, and improving retention, those are the things that we focus on, and we focus on diligently day in and day out. So we've developed a whole series of products. These are all software products that integrate in real time with your member management system. This is a check-in product, Interact Plus, which allows you to manage interactions with members that are at high risk of dropout. We have a fully integrated automated email and text platform that also allows you to update your social media. That's called Digital. We have an automated induction and referral system called Commit to Success that really gains that 2-visit per week commitment, minimum commitment that I mentioned earlier. We have our Net Promoter Score product, which really is the only Net Promoter Score product available that was built from the ground up specifically for the fitness industry and specifically to help you manage members that are, as Net Promoter Score says, are detractors, and how to move them to become loyal, raving fans or promoters of your business. And then we also have a Group X product that allows you to manage your group exercise reporting. So as you participate in this webinar, I'd like to offer you the opportunity to try a couple of our products, that digital product and our Net Promoter Score product. We've got a great opportunity here starting at $175 per month per site. These products typically sell at $250 per product per month per site. So it's a great opportunity to try out these fully integrated products that we've developed. And what do you get along with it? Well, you get TRP. So you get our ability to really work with you to help you grow your staff in focusing on improving member loyalty and retention overall. And then we also have another pack that we call our in-club sales and retention pack. So that integrates our Interact product, which is that one that identifies those members that are at high risk of dropout, along with our induction product as well. So those two packs are available to you at $175 per month per site. So it's a great opportunity available to you because you're participating in our webinar today, and we really do appreciate that. To wrap up today, I'd like to do a couple things. One is, I don't know how many of you recognize this young man. Maybe if you do recognize this young man, just click on your dashboard and show me a show of hands that you recognize who this is. Let's see. Is anybody? Oh, there's a couple. Very good. Well, this is Leonard Bernstein. And Leonard Bernstein is probably one of the most well-known American composers and conductors. And he made a great statement that for me really, I think, encapsulates what it is that we need to do when we begin down a new journey in our management of our facilities and really begin to integrate something as important as member retention and loyalty. And that is quite simply, to achieve great things, two things are needed: a plan and not quite enough time. Sense of urgency is a good thing, and I think it's terribly important, especially in our business where we see growing competition. We see mounting pressure from members to provide more value for their dues. It's very, very important to have a sense of urgency. We can give you a plan to help you build member loyalty and retention, and it's absolutely critical that we approach that with a sense of urgency. So there's Leonard Bernstein American composer and conductor, and really quite a good pundit. This is a photograph that I typically show at the end of my seminars that I do. And I think in all the times that I've shown this, I think one person has identified this landscape. So I'll tell you, this landscape is actually Death Valley, which is in California. And it is the hottest place in the continental United States, where at that surface the temperature can rise to about 130 degrees Fahrenheit. It's barren, it's hot, it's a miserable place to be. And back in 2004, something very interesting and really something that hasn't repeated itself happened in Death Valley, and that is that it rained. And it just didn't rain, it rained for many, many hours. And in fact, 7 inches of rain fell on Death Valley, something that very, very rarely happens. And one of the funny things about that rain is it created a transformation in Death Valley that no one expected. And the transformation was that Death Valley turned into a sea of flowers, blossoms as far as the eye could see. And the lesson here for us folks is pretty simple, and that is the seeds of retention and loyalty lie beneath the surface of any health and fitness facility. The reason we've gotten into this business is because we enjoy people, we want to see them grow, we want to see them improve, and we're committed to their improvement. So those seeds of retention and loyalty lie beneath the surface. And when we may have been focusing up to this point on primarily selling and marketing, retention and loyalty is something that can really grow. But it's up to you to be the ones that nurture that, to cultivate it, to water it, to provide it the opportunity to grow within your environment. So really think about that Death Valley analogy and the fact that even when you think that flowers can't grow somewhere, they can indeed, so long as they're properly nurtured. We provide real sustained involvement and support to our customers, and I'm going to wrap up the webinar right now and take any questions that some of you may have. Let me just show you a few things that are coming up. We do have a Loyalty and Retention Summit coming up with MACMA, the Mid-Atlantic Club Management Association, and that's February 18th, 2014 at Big Vanilla. So I'd welcome you to, if you're in that area, please feel free to come by. The invitations will be going out shortly, and we're going to be spending 5 solid hours on retention and loyalty. It's going to be a great time. We come to you with seminars, so very often clubs will ask us to come and speak to their staff around retention and loyalty. I don't think there's anything that we'd like to do better than that, so by all means we'd be happy to come and visit. We have a number of research articles on the retentionpeople.com. We also have a very durable relationship with IRSA, and if you're an IRSA member, you can download our research articles from the IRSA website. And then we also have a webinar coming up next month, and in honor of Valentine's Day, that webinar is What's Love Got to Do with It? And it's really about, you know, really focusing on that one point that I made earlier. It's about falling in love with your member and having your member fall in love with your club. So those are the things that we provide. That's coming up February 20th. Mark your calendar, and I hope you'll join us then. And I'll promise next time that I'll turn the screen sharing on sooner than later. But we just have a couple more minutes left. I definitely don't want to overstay my welcome. So if there's any of you that have any specific questions that I can answer, you see that question box in your dashboard. Feel free to just type in a question there, and I'll just take a look at a few of them here, and we will we'll be able to answer those questions. Will I be sending, let me see, someone asked, will I be sending a link to the archive session? I will absolutely send a link. We are recording the webinar, and are there any other questions that you might have? I think we're good. Then I think thank you so much for all of you visiting us today, and I hope this this last hour was beneficial to you. And let's be sure to stay in touch. There's my phone number. There's my email address. Feel free to reach out to me at any time, and I'll be happy to talk to you about retention and loyalty in your facility. So thanks again, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, a great rest of the month. I hope it's a good, solid January for you, and a great start to the new year. Have a good afternoon, folks. Bye-bye.